I've asked you repeatedly to comply with the crew's instructions. You need to leave the aircraft immediately.
We were complying.
What are you doing?
Mommy, I don't want to go.
Your family needs to leave this aircraft immediately. The flight attendant's voice cut through the cabin like a knife. Every passenger looked up. Marcus and Angela Johnson froze in their seats while their two children stared in confusion. "Excuse me?" Angela asked softly. The attendant crossed her arms. "You heard me." The youngest child clutched a stuffed bear. A silence spread through the airplane. People glanced at each other but said nothing. Marcus slowly stood. "May I ask why?" The attendant's answer shocked everyone. "Because you're becoming a problem. Like and subscribe to Echo Story." The Johnson family had boarded quietly 20 minutes earlier. Their tickets were valid. Their luggage was stored properly. Their children had barely spoken above a whisper. Yet from the moment they entered first class, the flight attendant, Karen Blake, seemed irritated by their presence. She questioned their seats twice. She checked their boarding passes 3 times. She even asked if they had entered through the correct boarding lane. Angela noticed it immediately but chose peace. She wanted a calm flight. She wanted her children to enjoy the trip. Instead, something felt wrong from the beginning. Karen stood in the aisle, demanding compliance while passengers watched. Marcus remained calm. "What exactly have we done?" Karen glanced around. "Several guests have expressed concerns." A businessman nearby looked confused. "I didn't complain," he muttered. Another passenger shook her head. Karen ignored them both. Angela felt her stomach tighten. Her daughter leaned closer. "Mommy, are we in trouble?" Angela forced a smile. "No, sweetheart." But the fear in her own voice was impossible to hide. Across the cabin, whispers began spreading from row to row. The captain had not yet closed the aircraft door, which made the public humiliation feel even worse. Karen called the gate supervisor. Within minutes, he arrived looking rushed and annoyed. "What seems to be the issue?" he asked. Karen immediately spoke first. "This family has been disruptive." Marcus blinked. Disruptive? The word felt unreal. The children had been reading books. Angela had been answering emails. Nobody had raised their voice. The supervisor looked uncertain for a moment, but Karen's confidence pushed him forward. Authority often sounds convincing, even when it's wrong. Passengers began paying closer attention. A teenage boy lowered his headphones. An elderly woman leaned into the aisle. Something about the situation felt unfair. Marcus handed over the boarding passes again. The supervisor reviewed them carefully. Everything matched. Seats paid. Identities confirmed. No problems. Yet Karen remained determined. The atmosphere changed when they arrived, she insisted. The statement hung awkwardly in the air. Even the supervisor looked uncomfortable. Angela met Karen's eyes for the first time. There was tension there. Not evidence, not facts. Just tension, and everyone could feel it. "Please gather your belongings," Karen said firmly. The youngest child looked up at Marcus. "Daddy, why do they want us to go?" The question pierced the cabin. Several passengers looked away. Others stared directly at Karen. For the first time, cracks appeared in her confidence. Marcus knelt beside his son. "You did nothing wrong." The boy nodded but held tighter to his stuffed bear. Angela swallowed hard. She could handle embarrassment directed at her. Watching it land on her children was different. Much different. But what happened next changed everything. A passenger in row 3 finally spoke up. "I've been sitting here the whole time." "They haven't done anything," more voices followed. "Neither have I." "This doesn't make sense." Karen's expression hardened. "This matter is between crew and passengers." The businessman shook his head. "We are passengers." Silence followed. The power inside the cabin shifted slightly. Not enough to stop Karen, but enough to make her uncomfortable. The supervisor rubbed his forehead. The situation was no longer simple. Too many people had witnessed too much. Angela reached into her purse and quietly pulled out her phone. Marcus noticed immediately. "Not yet," he whispered. She nodded. They both wanted fairness before influence. They wanted the crew to do the right thing because it was right, not because someone important might become involved. The supervisor asked Karen for documentation. She had none. No incident report. No witness statements. No complaints. Just accusations. Yet she continued pushing. "I know what I saw," Marcus responded calmly. "Then tell us what you saw." Karen had no answer. The aircraft remained at the gate as tension filled every seat. Children stopped watching cartoons. Business travelers stopped checking emails. Everyone was watching now. The supervisor looked trapped between procedure and pressure. Then Karen made her biggest mistake. People like them always become trouble eventually. The words escaped before she could stop them. Silence exploded across the cabin. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even Karen seemed shocked by what she had said. Angela closed her eyes briefly. Marcus looked down at the floor. The truth had finally introduced itself. Phones appeared instantly. Several passengers had already been recording. Now everyone understood why. The supervisor's face turned pale. "Karen," he whispered. She tried to recover. "That's not what I meant." But it was exactly what she meant. The passengers knew it. The Johnson family knew it. Karen knew it. Marcus slowly picked up his phone. This time Angela didn't stop him. "Maybe now," she said quietly. Marcus nodded. He opened one contact, then pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, then someone answered. "Marcus?" The voice sounded warm, familiar, powerful. Marcus explained the situation calmly. No exaggeration, no anger, just facts. The caller listened without interruption. Around the cabin, people watched carefully. The supervisor glanced nervously toward Karen. She still believed this would pass. She still believed she controlled the situation. But she didn't know who was on the other end of the line, and no one in that aircraft was ready for what came next. Not even Marcus. The caller asked one simple question. "Are the children okay?" Marcus looked at his son and daughter, embarrassed, confused, but okay. A long pause followed. Then the voice changed. Calm became cold. "Put me on speaker." Marcus did. The cabin became silent enough to hear the engines outside. "This is David Reynolds." The supervisor's eyes widened immediately. Karen frowned. She didn't recognize the name. The supervisor definitely did. Because David Reynolds was not just a family friend. He was the airline's largest corporate partner. David Reynolds owned a travel technology company responsible for managing millions of dollars in premium business travel contracts. His company supplied systems used by the airline every single day. But he didn't lead with that. He led with one question. Why are children being removed from an aircraft without cause? Nobody answered. The supervisor tried, failed, tried again. Failed again. Facts have a way of becoming difficult when they don't exist. Karen suddenly looked very small standing in the aisle. Very small indeed. Within minutes, executive calls started flooding the supervisor's phone. Then the captain's, then airport operations. The aircraft remained at the gate. Passengers exchanged stunned looks. Karen stood frozen. The power she enjoyed moments earlier had disappeared completely. David's voice remained calm. No family should be treated this way. The statement landed harder than any threat. Because it wasn't about contracts. It wasn't about money. It was about dignity. The thing missing from the entire situation. The thing everyone now recognized. A senior airline executive boarded the aircraft personally. That almost never happened. He walked directly to Marcus and Angela. "We sincerely apologize." The children watched quietly. Angela remained composed. Marcus nodded politely. "Thank you." The executive then turned toward Karen. The entire cabin watched. Nobody needed details. Nobody needed explanations. They had already seen everything unfold. Karen looked toward the floor. For the first time that day, she had no words. None at all. The executive asked Karen to apologize. She stepped forward slowly. Every eye followed her. "I'm sorry," she said. The words sounded fragile. Angela looked at her carefully, then shook her head. "Not to us first," Karen blinked. "What?" Angela looked toward her children. "To them." The cabin froze. The son still held his stuffed bear. The daughter sat quietly beside him. Karen turned toward them. Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry for making you feel unwelcome." The children simply nodded. Something changed inside the aircraft after that. The tension dissolved into reflection. Several passengers approached the Johnson family. One woman apologized for not speaking sooner. A businessman admitted he hesitated because he didn't want conflict. Marcus thanked them anyway. He understood fear. He understood hesitation. But he also understood something else. Silence protects the wrong people far more often than it protects the right ones. The lesson settled over the cabin like a shadow nobody could ignore. The captain personally welcomed the Johnson family to remain on board. "You belong here," he said sincerely. Marcus smiled slightly. "We always did." The answer stayed with everyone who heard it. Because it was true. The family had not changed. Their tickets had not changed. Their behavior had not changed. Only other people's perceptions had changed. And that realization made the cabin very quiet, very thoughtful. As boarding resumed, passengers seemed different, kinder, more aware, more willing to notice each other. The children returned to their books. Angela relaxed for the first time all afternoon. Marcus looked out the window at the terminal lights. The crisis was over, but the lesson remained. Respect should never depend on titles, contracts, influence, or powerful friends. It should exist before any of those things enter the room. That was the truth sitting quietly inside seat 2A. Hours later, the aircraft landed safely. As passengers exited, many stopped to wish the Johnson family well. The children smiled again. The fear was gone. The humiliation was fading. Near the jet bridge, Marcus looked back one final time. Not with anger, not with victory, with hope. Echo Story remembers moments like this because the strongest people are often the ones who stay calm when they have every reason not to. Respect isn't something you show when someone is powerful. It's something you show when you think they're not.